as I watched the Democratic debate in Las Vegas, Nevada, this was Michael Bloomberg's very first appearance in a Democratic debate. And he got pretty beat up by all the candidates, but one of the biggest blows he took was when Elizabeth Warren started speaking to this idea of his misogynistic and harassment of women in the workplace. So much so that she asked Bloomberg if he was willing to release these women from their confidentiality agreements. Essentially what that means is he had paid them to sign a document that said they would never speak of these harassing and misogynistic moments.
I'd like to talk about who we're running against. A billionaire who calls women fat broads and horse-faced lesbians. And no, I'm not talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about Mayor Bloomberg.
Former employees have claimed that your company was a hostile workplace for women. When you were confronted about it, you admitted making sexually suggestive remarks, saying, quote, "That's the way I grew up." In a lawsuit in the 1990s, according to the Washington Post, one former female employee alleged that you said, quote, "I would do you in a second." Should Democrats expect better from their nominee?
And I hope you heard what his defense was. I've been nice to some women. He has gotten some number of women, dozens, who knows, to sign non-disclosure agreements, both for sexual harassment and for gender discrimination in the workplace. So, Mr. Mayor, are you willing to release all of those women from those non-disclosure agreements so we can hear their side of the story?
We have a very few non-disclosure agreements.
How many is that?
Let me finish.
How many is that?
None of them accuse me of doing anything other than maybe they didn't like the joke I told. They signed those agreements, and we'll live with it.
So wait, when you say it is up to, I just want to be clear. Some is how many? And when you say they signed them and they wanted them, if they wish now to speak out and tell their side of the story about what it is they allege, that's now okay with you? You're releasing them on television tonight?
They decided when they made an agreement that they wanted to keep it quiet for everybody's interest. They signed the agreements, and that's what we're going to live with.
I'm sorry. No, the question is, are the women bound by being muzzled by you?
It's easy. All the mayor has to do is say, you are released from the non-disclosure agreement, period. You think the women, in fact, were ready to say, I don't want anybody to know about what you did to me? That's not how it works. The way it works is they say, look, this is what you did to me, and the mayor comes along and his attorney say, I will give you this amount of money if you promise you'll never say anything.
We're not going to get to end these agreements because they were made consensually, and they have every right to expect that they will stay private.
I think some of the telltale signs of Bloomberg in that night is, one, he refused to release them from those, meaning there's too much to hide that he doesn't want the public knowing. And I thought it was peculiar that he couldn't really even say how many women have these signed. Anybody running for the presidency of the United States needs to be extremely transparent. He refused to release these women from these confidentiality agreements, but then in addition, he really couldn't even say, or he wouldn't say, how many women have signed these confidentiality agreements. Now, I think most people, if they have a woman sign a confidentiality agreement, they can think, well, there's one, or if there's 6, but how many does it take to where you can't even really say the number because either you're too ashamed of that number or you don't remember the number. Either way, it was not a good night for Michael Bloomberg. We'll continue to monitor this election as we get closer and closer to November. Everything you'll need to know, you'll find right here on GFG Politics.